But first, it warms my heart, as someone who used to work for Labor, to finally see the Albanese government fighting for the battlers. Real battlers like Education Minister Jason Clare, who was battling after an operation on skin cancer on his leg and thought he couldn't possibly fly in economy on a holiday to Singapore. Now, of course, it was out of the question that he pay for this upgrade to business out of his own pocket.
I had surgery on my leg, and yep, I asked for an upgrade. I was assisted by Qantas.
So, who do you ask in that scenario?
Oh gosh, I remember picking up the phone and asking for a bit of assistance there, but I can't remember all of the details.
No, of course he could remember the details. Who remembers a person who's just given you a gift worth, what is that, about $3,000 each way? I do wonder, though, why was Qantas's duty to pay for the minister's extra comfort? Or indeed for the comfort of the Prime Minister, giving out Anthony Albanese upgrades for his own holidays to Rome, Honolulu, Thailand, London, Singapore. What a life. But Albanese yesterday decided to change the conversation away from all these freebies. It was time for him to finally give out his own freebies. And yes, to battlers. Albanese decided to give $16 billion in gifts to some of the poorest, most deprived, most disadvantaged, most desperate battlers in the country. University students. A handout to students who are already getting a university education which should help them earn more than most taxpayers who must help pay for this Albanese gift, because someone always pays for Albanese. The gift is this, explained by the Prime Minister in what was an unofficial start to his election campaign, to try to take back the agenda after months of drift and do it with the first big election handout.
A re-elected Labor government will take 20% off student debt for everyone who has one. It will be the first piece of legislation that we bring into the next parliament. This measure alone means a typical university graduate will see their debt cut by $5,500.
And that's not all. These students can earn more income before repaying less of their debt. That could be another $1,300 a year in their pockets. This must surely be a joke. I mean, Anthony Albanese today posed with understandably grateful students, but Australian workers in shops and factories around the country, and farmers too, they must help to subsidise even more the university students studying some arts degree, say in post-colonial studies or some financial topic to supercharge their business career. How is that fair? The opposition is against it.
When will the reckless spending stop?
$16 billion to benefit 3 million people. It appears to be a once-off, so if you've got a HECS debt next July, lucky you. If you've already paid it off, not so lucky you. You've paid it off at full price. An extraordinary move that seems designed just to get the Green vote back to Labor. So 27 million people will pay for it.
But you want to know why Albanese is promising this spend-a-thon on students? Vote for us, guys, and we'll reward you after the election. This is more or less a Greens policy. This is Albanese using your money to win young voters from the Greens for Labor. But there's something else about that pretend campaign launch yesterday that looked so flat, that looked so fake. I mean, there was Anthony Albanese actually giving that speech to an audience of carefully selected Labor politicians and unionists, people who could be relied on to clap at the right places, hold up their American-style rally signs at the right time. Yet even then, the whole thing lacked zing.
Our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese.
But that other thing I wanted to point out about Albanese's campaign launch yesterday, his big pitch for voting Labor.
We have delivered back-to-back budget surpluses for the first time in nearly 2 decades. This is an economic record that we are so proud of. And more than that, It's the foundation for building Australia's future.
Well, this scares me because if Anthony Albanese's 2 budget surpluses, built on windfall prices for our minerals, are indeed the foundation for our future, we have some bad news coming. What Albanese does not say or explain is that Labor is now saying in budget papers that the next 10 budgets will instead be in the red. Those 2 years of surpluses will be followed by a decade of deficits, which is why he's going to call the election before he hands down the next budget, which will point all that out very clearly. 10 years coming of deficits is not a foundation for our future at all. But never mind that, look at Albanese's new freebie. This time not a Qantas upgrade for himself, but thousands of dollars ahead for students who've racked up a debt. And not a cent, by the way, for the students who've actually paid off their debt. What a government. Freebie economics, freebie politics. No wonder a new poll by GXO Strategies says the words that voters most associate with Albanese now are weak, followed by leader, incompetent and useless. And no wonder that our living standards have fallen. When do you think they'll rise again?